Hello and welcome to the Home Assistant Podcast. Today, we're here with Christian. Hey, Christian.
How you doing?
Good. And we're here with Phil. Hey, Phil.
Hey, Ron.
This episode is sponsored by Home Assistant Cloud by Nabukasa. Easily access your local Home Assistant instance remotely for a small monthly fee that supports the Home Assistant and the ESP Home projects. Configuration is done by the user interface, so there's no fiddling with router settings, SSL certs, or any YAML.
Christian, welcome.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Where are you from? How did you get here?
So I'm from the UK, a small town in Yorkshire called Halifax. Probably, unless you know the bank, you've probably never heard of it.
That's
Nice.
funny. But that's awesome. So, I mean, why don't we just jump right into it, Christian? I mean, Home Assistant Podcast, obviously you're into home automation, you're into all of that stuff. What got you into it?
So I've always been into sort of electronics since a young age, since high school, always tinkered. And it my journey sort of started before Home Assistant existed. Always trying to find like a way to automate a task, or it started with like curtains, just simply wanting to open my curtains with like a motor, playing around with some Arduino Unos, trying to code that and failing miserably.
Nice.
Eventually moved into my own house in 2017 and playing around with some Raspberry Pis. And then I think I was looking on, I think it was AliExpress, it must be in AliExpress or Wish or Banggood or something. Came across the Sonoff Basics, the first generation models. Ordered a couple of them, thought they looked cool. Just thought, oh yeah, can control a lamp from my phone. That's cool. And then I wanted it to work with HomeKit. So I started Googling, as you do, just started looking on GitHub for solutions to that. And the first one I came across was, what's it called now?
Homebridge.
Homebridge, that's it. So I installed that, had a tinker with that. I didn't really know much about coding at that point. Very new to it all. And wanted to start getting more and more. Obviously, as soon as you get one lamp working, you start ordering another 5 Sonoff Basics at a time, get the bulk offers, get the discount. And then started to try to add more and more, and started struggling with the code and knowing actually how to get multiple of them working without having the multiple Raspberry Pis. And that sort of led me on to Home Assistant, which at the time was very daunting to move over to because it was all YAML based in 2017, or mainly YAML based. But that's how it started, just with a single Sonoff Basic, as most people.
Are you still maintaining a lot of the YAML pieces, or have you moved over to UI wherever you can? Or
so I moved into this house 3 months ago.
oh, nice.
So I actually started with a whole brand new Home Assistant instance. I really shouldn't have, because it's been an absolute pain to move everything over, which has already worked so well in the previous version. But yeah, now everything is pretty much UI based. There's only a couple of YAML configurations I've got left.
Nice. Okay.
As part of the move when you moved house, did you I always find it as a good time to start fresh, do a clean cut, because I guess when you're moving house, the rooms aren't necessarily the same. You may have a different living room, 2 living rooms, 1 living room, different number of bedrooms. Were you able to pull out all your Sonoff devices? Were they hardwired into your other house and you were able to bring them over, or did you have to leave them behind? How did the move go?
So I actually got rid of the Sonoffs a while back. I had them for about 3 years ish, so up to maybe about 2020. And during lockdown, I started switching everything over to the Xiaomi Akara platform. Got myself a Xiaomi hub, one of the original first gen ones. You could just extract the key from that straight away, and it just worked flawlessly in Home Assistant. So everything in the house that we moved from was Firewire Xiaomi Akara, because the wiring in the UK is an absolute mess unless you live in a house built in the past 10 to 15 years. So that all did come with me to the new place. I actually went, every viewing we went to when we were looking for a house, I took a screwdriver with me so that I could look at the wiring behind the switches.
Nice.
I didn't get away with that every single time, so that was like a deal breaker a lot of the time. If we weren't able to check the wiring, I was like, no, we're not moving there.
Yeah.
But luckily, this place still has the old wiring, so I was able to. I didn't have to purchase many, a whole new set of switches.
Interesting. Okay. And were you looking for neutrals and like a bunch of that kind of stuff, or?
Yeah, I mean, neutrals would have been nice because then you can use like dimmers and your options get so much more. The net you can cast when you're looking online for products is much wider.
Yeah.
But in a way, it was kind of nice that I could just sort of take that setup from the old place, stick it in the new place, and it was just reconfiguring everything on Home Assistant. And I've since moved everything over to Zigbee now as well. So I got rid of the Xiaomi hub because, privacy concerns and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And I got I don't know if do you have Aldi over where you guys live?
Yep.
I don't.
You do, Phil. So yeah,
I know what it is though.
Yeah, it's a cheap supermarket shopping brand.
Yeah.
They actually weirdly have their own. It was either Aldi or Lidl. I can't remember actually which one it was, but they have their own Zigbee hub, and there's a guide online on how to hack that hub and turn it into Home Assistant compatible. So that cost me like £12 for that. I probably could have found one on AliExpress that just works natively, but as I said, I like to tinker. So that runs all the Zigbee devices, which every Akara device I had we worked perfectly, just in video mode.
So you moved over from a Wi-Fi based, I'm guessing like Sonoff, now you've gone to Zigbee. So does that include all the wall switches, everything's Zigbee?
I don't have many wall switches, but the ones I did move over to Zigbee. I think I had two, one for my 3D printer and one for an actual printer.
Yep. How many Zigbee devices do you have on your network, just out of curiosity?
Oh, that's a good question. Let me have a look. 18 currently.
18?
18.
Okay, cool. I have 63, I think. And
is that on one hub or is that on multiple?
So that's on one hub, and that's doing. It's from a Combi USB stick that's plugged directly into Home Assistant. And I'm just going to confirm that I have, 64 devices. My apologies. I am having issues with my Zigbee at the moment because I have so many devices. For whatever reason, like random devices will just be marked as unavailable, and I'll have to go and repair them, which is really frustrating. They'll just work, and then all of a sudden, it's as if they just drop off. They get marked as unavailable. I've got many a Philips Hue bulb, I've got an IKEA signal repeater, so I've got enough routers on the Zigbee network to have to support that number of devices. It's just so frustrating. And I know this isn't just an isolated issue. It's not a Phil issue. I've seen other people on Twitter comment on, this, happens to me all the time too. So yeah, it's so
well. I think they typically say like 64 is the upper limit, right?
Yeah,
usually.
I've reached that limit. Maybe I'll have to do some googling. But
I don't know. That's what I keep hearing. But
might be worth just sticking another hub in somewhere.
I've been trying to avoid that. I used to have 3 running at one point.
Oh wow!
I had multiple instances of Zigbee to MQTT running. I had my house split in like half. One Zigbee controller at one end, the other at the other end. It just then becomes a nightmare of when this happens.
There might be some tuning you can do too. I don't know, like just check if there's any. I guess if there's any like noise, like how much noise there is and such, right? Because I mean, I don't know if you custom set your channels and stuff like that, but
I've done all that. I've done the USB extension cable.
I
don't know. I don't know what the issue is.
I'm having the same issue with one of my devices, but it's a really basic Sonoff door sensor that I'm assuming it's just I've had it for 5 years, and I just thought, well, it's probably just broke at this point. But it's cheap to replace, and if it does happen again, then I know there's an issue. But one little device on my network that's happened with.
It might be a range thing too, right? Depending on
it could be.
And I guess depending if your house is built with concrete or drywall, whatever, right? So,
Yeah.
I know we had an issue at the previous house. Sorry, Phil.
No, go for it. Go for it.
We had the gas company come out to try and fit a smart meter because it's I think it's the law now in the UK that you have to have a smart meter if a new system gets installed or something. But they kept bugging me about it just week after week. I said, go on then, just install it. They tried 3 times, and it's actually basically the meter that they tried to install was a Zigbee meter. And for whatever reason, they couldn't get it to work. And I assumed that it was because of the Zigbee networking interfering with it, but that they couldn't get to the bottom of it. So I didn't end up getting the smart meter. I asked them, like, can I just connect it to my own system? They're like, no, absolutely not. We need to see how much gas you're using.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Yeah, because our electricity grid in Australia, or at least where I am, the state I am in Victoria, our electricity grid is based on Zigbee, and I have a Rainforest Eagle that connects up to the Zigbee smart meter and just says, "Hello, yep, I'm here. I would also like to know what is being consumed." Yeah. So surely there would be like a similar product that could be done for gas, if not.
Yeah, well, I know some use like you can just connect a radio to your home assistant setup and kind of just sniff the air, see what it picks up, right? So depending on what that is, you may be able to do that. But my question, Christian, was do they give you a little hub that you have to plug in on your side, or how does that work?
They basically just give you a little digital LCD that just sits in your kitchen, and it connects straight back to the hub. You can see what's consumed, but then obviously it feeds all the information back to their HQ as well.
That's nice, but I mean, that seems kind of...
Well, people don't like
weird.
It because obviously
it's one more thing in your house.
One more thing in your house, and you end up meter watching, and you every time you put the kettle on or every time you put the gas stove on, you watch the counter go up. Whereas if you just pay it monthly, you don't have to think about it. So I mean,
it's good. It's good in that sense, right? Like, I mean, it's but however, it's still, it's another thing.
Yeah, another thing on the network, another interference device.
Totally, right? I'm surprised they don't use like LoRa or something like that to just run their own stuff and pull it. But
yeah, this was one specific company. They've all got their own now. They're all pushing their own devices. They all use different networks and different models and etc. Some use generic ones, some use purpose-built ones.
That sounds like even more of a red flag to me. Like we have every once a quarter, once every 6 months, people will knock on my door and try and sell me these free energy monitors that this company wants to put in my house, and you can just tell like they're trying to monetize my data somehow. Right? It feels shady, And then when I tell them, I've got a smart home, I don't need any of this, I'm already monitoring it. What are you monitoring? Have you got this sensor? How are you doing it? Where's it going? I'm like, just leave me alone, right? Like,
do you need instructions or?
Yeah. So the fact that these are all doing their own thing. So I'm guessing you have to have a little smart device on your kitchen counter that then plugs into your internet to send your billing information over to them. How's the security on their device? Like, are they just creating a backdoor into your local network? It seems all a bit.
Yeah, I've never personally had one. I'm not sure if to connect to the Wi-Fi or not. I'm assuming they'll have to in some way, shape or form. But if it's anything like sensors that I've worked with personally in my career, then they'll probably have like 4G backups built into them and stuff like that. Cellular backups, so that if someone changes the SSID password, you can still grab all your data and
That's it's so fascinating. You've got Zigbee now. So are you using any other protocols around the house, like ESP Home, any MQTT stuff going on?
Yeah, so it's a combination of mainly Zigbee and ESP Home. I did start off, like I said, when I got the Sonoff Basic and Homebridge, it all started with Tasmotor. That was like the big interest, sort of that piqued my interest massively at the time. I think I was one of the first versions of Tasmotor I was on, because it was back in 2017. It hadn't been out for too long. So I watched it grow and grow and grow and get better and better. multiple times having to reset the device, pull the device out of the ceiling and reflash it because of the firmware update broke it, and I didn't read the breakable changes and stuff. Eventually, so at some point during lockdown, I think it was a project I was working on. I was trying to do a very specific thing, and I always just defaulted to Tasmoto because that's what I knew. That's what I knew how to use it. I knew all the documentation. I could read through it very easily and find what I needed to find. But I can't remember what it was now. I think it was like some sort of temperature sensor I was trying to do, or like a light sensor or something. It was fans. That was it. Completely unrelated. I was trying to make a fan controller using 12-volt fans, and I just couldn't figure it out for some reason. There wasn't many people who'd done it with Tasmoto, but there was loads of people who'd done it with ESP Home. And much like the move to Home Assistant from Homebridge, that was, again, quite daunting because it's all YAML-based still, even to this day, and it's all this new documentation you've got to read through, and it's just a whole lot of time has to be invested into it.
Yeah.
And obviously then you're going to want to do the rest as well. You're going to want to move all your other devices over to it. But I took the plunge and it worked just so well that I was like, right, I'm going to scrap off Tasmoto completely, move completely over to ESP Home, and now I've got, I think it's something like, it's only about 15 devices, but I've got some fairly complex stuff built into them.
Do you run your Home Assistant instance through a full like Home Assistant OS, or do you do Docker? Do you do standard install on a Pi?
So I've tried all of them. Originally it was on a Pi, as like most people start off with.
Yeah.
But it's currently running on a Proxmox VM.
Yep.
And the Proxmox host is just I think it's an 8th gen Intel Dell Optiflex that I got for £5 from work.
Nice.
Solid. Yeah.
Yeah. It's one of the old stocks that they were giving out for cheap.
Yeah. Nothing wrong with that. And then are you like, how are you running it though? Is it a like, are you running the Home Assistant OS? So do you have
Home Assistant OS.
Stuff? Yeah. Okay. How are you finding the stability of that?
It's amazing. I've never had any issues with it. It's as long as the host can handle what you're telling it to give the VM, like it's the best way to run it in my opinion. If you've got the hardware, because obviously you can run other stuff alongside it as well. You're not having to have, a separate device for Docker, a separate device for, is it Frigate or Frigate? I never know how to pronounce it.
I usually say the first Frigate.
It's like the Scone or Scone.
Yeah.
But yeah, you could just have everything on one machine, and as long as you're utilizing the hardware correctly, like I think it barely even hits 20% CPU usage. Yeah,
nice.
Yeah, I suggested to somebody that they use the OS on a Pi or whatever, and it didn't go too well. He spent all day moving all of his sensors over and something, and then at the end of it, died. And I was like, brutal.
For me, it's the redundancy as well. If you build proper redundancy into Proxmox, you're never going to lose it. You're never going to lose your Home Assistant instance. Obviously, we're at a point now where it's kept up to date so much and it's so stable that we'd never really run into the same issues that we had back in the YAML days, where your entire Home Assistant instance gets corrupt, or the SD card dies, etc. But I've got a Proxmox backup server running as well, and that's only got a 2 terabyte SSD in it, and that can hold probably 6 to 12 months worth of Home Assistant backups, backing up daily. So it's anytime I mess some code up, or I want to go back to revert the past 12 hours of testing or tinkering that I've just done, I can just click a button and it's there.
Yeah.
That's nice.
Fair enough.
I need to look into Proxmox.
Yeah.
Upgrade.
Do you have do you have a server that you're running right now, Phil?
I have like an old PC, not like a full server.
Yeah.
Do I need a full server? I have no idea. I need to do my research.
No, you don't need a full server. Not at all.
Just depends what you want to do with it. If you want hardware encoding, I'd go with hardware acceleration, go with 8th gen or higher, basically. Intel
Yeah.
NUC as well. It run absolutely fantastically on that. So I want to eventually, once I can afford to buy 2 of them, I want to move everything over to Intel NUC, and then it can literally just live in a cupboard.
Yeah,
Nice. Yeah.
I literally have a tab open with Nooks right now, and it's just like, because eventually I'd like to turn off my server. It's just loud, a lot of power, etc., etc.
Yeah.
So
energy usage is a big one. Yeah.
I hate the thought of like all these old machines in my house like going to waste. Like, I'd rather reuse a old computer, knowing that, because if Home Assistant can run on a Raspberry Pi, then it can run on like this hardware, right?
Oh yeah, definitely.
But then you do look at like the Nooks and stuff, and like I do like the idea of being able to plug it all in, put it in a cupboard as if it's like a hub, like even like a Home Assistant blue or yellow. I don't know.
I've literally got a Nook that's in pieces at the moment.
Yeah. I've got a couple of friends too that are just doing the whole like, let's just take old off lease like mini PC things. And one of my buddies actually runs Plex off of it and stuff like that, and it has I forget what it's called, but it's basically hardware acceleration on the Intel processors, right? And it, like, he had, well, last time I was over at his house, he just had glances running, and it was barely breathe, like it was barely like breathing heavy at all, like.
Yeah, that's cool.
So so it's that's not a bad choice there either, right? So
yeah, it just runs fantastically. The main reason I chose Proxmox is because I eventually wanted, when I could get hold of one, which I now have, I wanted to pass through some PCI M.2 Corals through for FreeGate. And there's just loads of documentation and help online, and you can just very easily post in the GitHub on how to do it if you've got any issues through to the VM instance for it to take advantage of it. Whereas if you're doing stuff like Docker, if everything runs on Docker, or you've got like Synology or even Raspberry Pi, I know the Home Assistant Yellow supports that natively, I think. But if you want more than one, I purchased 2 of them. I managed to get hold of 2 of them. Next day delivery as well, which was insane. I'm having a year and a half trying to find them in stock, and then boom, I just had them. So yeah, that's another project I'm working on at the moment, trying to get that working.
So I have 2 quick questions before we move on from Proxmox. You mentioned you've got a backup server. Have you had to test that? What's the recovery time if you do need to restore? Like, is it down for an hour? Or is it pretty quick?
Tested it extensively.
Nice.
Lots of issues. Because it backs everything. I've got 2 servers running, one a Plex server and then basically like my IoT server. With Home Assistant installed on it, and some other stuff like DNS, DHCP, and stuff like that. And it's literally a lot of it's running containers as Proxmox containers, and that can be a restore time anywhere from 1 to 5 minutes, depending on the size of it. Obviously, depending on your network speed, disk speed, all these variables. Home Assistant is a bit bigger; it's about 60 gigabytes, maybe 15 minutes, 20 minutes. Because it's backed up onto an SSD as well, which helps. Yeah, it's insanely quick lead times for getting stuff back online.
Oh, that is very appealing.
Yeah. Do you have a NAS at all?
I just use Proxmox. I've got a disk just on the host and just share that out using ZFS.
ZFS, okay.
Nice. So you mentioned that you got those Corals. So how are you doing? It's like you've got cameras around the house. I'm guessing that's why you want to use Frigate. Like, so what's your sort of camera setup? How have you done that?
So I've got. I made the mistake of going with the Reolink.
You made the mistake. Oh,
yeah.
Interesting.
It seems to be, well, looking online, it seems like they're nothing but issues when it comes to the RSTP streams, RTPM, MPs, PM, whatever streams. They did actually work fantastically until I started messing around with the Coral, and now they just don't work at all. So I am currently trying to figure that out. I've managed to pass the Corals through fine. They show up, and they brought the is it the response time on the cameras on the detection from, I think you were running at over 100 milliseconds down to 5.
Wow.
So that the CPU usage just dropped instantly. But for some reason, it's not the corals I'm having issues with. It's the actual hardware, hardware acceleration and getting streams to just stay online from the cameras. I'm just trying to troubleshoot that at the moment, and I'm not having much luck. But I haven't had much time to look into it this past couple of weeks.
That's interesting. So, if you were to choose your time again, you said that Relink was a problem. What would you go for instead?
I'm not sure, to be honest. I probably just look online on Reddit and on the forums and just
find the best one.
Yeah, find whatever's being recommended at the moment.
Yeah, I think the problem, it's just like every technology, right? I think there's no best. It's what kind of fits your use case the closest. Which is unfortunate. Like, I want everything to be to the tens, but it never happens, right?
Yeah.
Or it's like
cheap.
super expensive. So
it was just cheaper. It was an offer on Amazon. I bought one, and I've run that for the past couple of years. But now we've moved house.
Sure.
We've gone from a middle terrace to end terrace. So we've gone from having one camera at the front, and that's all we needed to. I think we need 4 now, and there's obviously 4K streams, and you run into H.264, H.265 issues with browsers, and I'm deep into it at the moment, trying to get it figured out. But as soon as it's working, it'll be absolutely fantastic.
So I'm guessing. So you've got how many cameras now? Did you say 4?
So I've currently got 4. Yeah, I think there's a 5th probably coming at some point.
Wow. So they're 4 just outside the house.
So I've got one on front, back, and side, and then one in the shed. Because it's a shed/workshop, and then I want another one just directly pointing at the car.
Yeah, nice.
Just for the car alone.
And do you have like a dashboard set up to be able to view those cameras in real time? Is that what would be potentially causing streaming issues?
So I used to use just Frigate. I'd just go on Home Assistant, click on the tab, because I used to run it as the Home Assistant add-on. I've since having to do the pass-through. I've got it as a Docker container on a separate VM. And since that actually is when the issue started. So I might even look at potentially try to pass it through to Home Assistant instead. And just running it as the add-on. But yeah, I've got Blue Iris as well that just does 24/7 recording, and that's absolutely fine. That's solid workhorse. Just never have any issues with it. Obviously, it's not free.
Yeah, that's the only issue, right?
Yeah,
and it runs on Windows, which is a pain.
Ooh, okay. And so what object detection have you got? So you're using the corals now to do objects. So you're finding, like, as soon as it detects a human, are you then saying, okay, mark this as a clip to then get looked at in the future, or so you can search what happened? Like, have you got any automation set up? Like, if a person's detected at 3 a.m., do this. Like, what have you sort of thought about doing there?
So in an ideal world, when everything's working, it will. Or what it did before is what I want it to do still, is it actually sends a HTTP request to Blue Iris. So instead of using, recording 24/7 on Blue Iris and then using more storage up with Frigate, I'm just having it mark it as a detection event in Blue Iris, and then I can just go and click on that event, and it just takes me to where it was in that timeline. It does do clip. It doesn't do clips. Sorry, it does. I do have it doing snapshots, so that then it can send a notification to my phone at least. But it would do that on all the cameras around the side, and then between certain times in the shed. So that we're not getting spammed constantly.
Yeah,
that's great.
Nice simple setup, but
power over Ethernet cameras, I'm guessing.
Yeah, I'll power over Ethernet.
Yeah, very nice.
Not your battery cameras there, Phil. It's
No. Like
the benefits of working in IT, I got a free network switch, PoE network switch.
Very nice.
So that just runs everything like a dream.
That helps.
They're getting quite cheap now. Like, I'm just tempted to buy one. No idea how I'd wire them up, but yeah, just getting like so tempting.
Yeah. So what else are you doing in terms of automations? Like, what are some of your favorite ones that you have?
My favorite ones are anything to do with the cat. Basically, we just got a cat a couple of months back as well, just before we moved into the new place.
Okay.
So I've got a cat feeder, automated cat feeder that I bought off Amazon.
Nice.
I'm very much into do things as cheaply as possible, as long as it works. Like, as long as it works and it's not expensive. If it starts to not work, it's getting thrown in the bin, and I'll go for the more expensive option. But if it carries on working, then fair enough. I think it cost me like £40 off Amazon. Just a really basic, self-contained. It's not Wi-Fi enabled or anything.
Sure.
You press a button, it'll dispense some food, or you can set a timer and follow that schedule. So I bought that, knowing that it would obviously have motors in it, it'd have a circuit board in it, it'd have some way of being able to control it with an ESP module. So I opened it up, cut all the wires, and wired it up to an ESP module, ran a ESP home on it, and essentially all it does is just send 5 volts to the motor, which it has a stop switch on it. So when the motor goes around once, it then triggers the stop switch, which then stops the 5 volts going through the relay. And it really is just as simple as that. I want to add a photo resistor or a light sensor in there to detect when there's no food in there eventually. But that's a project for another day. But that works so well. She gets fed 3 times a day, and she has done for the past 6 months, and it's never missed a beat.
That's perfect.
It's all self-contained on the module as well, so the schedule actually runs, rather than doing it in Node-RED, it runs directly on the ESP home. So if the Wi-Fi goes down, she still gets fed.
Nice.
Bit of redundancy there. I like it.
Yeah.
That's a good type of redundancy. You don't want a very angry cat.
I think the cats have also got like automated. There she is. Hi, cat.
Having a bit of a sleep.
Yeah.
For cats now, they've also got like automated kitty litter as well. Like so, because I remember like some of them very early episodes, like people were talking about, creating like exhaust fans for the kitty litter box. But now I think there's actually commercial products out there you can buy off the shelf, and they do that all for you.
Yeah. Very expensive.
Yes. Yeah. I can imagine.
Yeah, like I've seen the ones that are like the what's it called, like like the concrete mixer things where
exactly
sifts through and like all that. And,
those are like 900 quid off Amazon. Those are insane money, but I really want it. It's going to have to be a purchase at some point.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, I don't know. It's again, it's cool. How much effort does it save you, right? I mean, it's like sometimes it's just worth it just for like, I mean, Phil and I both just got a robot vacuum. Well, I got one a little while ago, but Phil got one not that long ago either, right? And it's like, is that a really necessary purchase? I mean, I was perfectly fine vacuuming by myself before, but it's just.
But now you can't live without it.
Yeah, I mean, it's something nice to have. I mean, my wife will still once in a while, she'll still go around and use the manual vacuum, right? But just because she likes the like where it might miss like a corner or something like that in her head, she's like, hey, this is way faster and just point in time. And I'm like, yeah, that's fine. I mean, I guess I do it too sometimes, but I don't know. It's not too bad.
Which robot vacuum did you go for, out of interest? Because that's something I want at some point.
I did the D-Bot because it was cheaper. Phil did the Roborock S7 because the S8 just came out, right? So it's just a wee bit cheaper. Do
they integrate it straight into Home Assistant, or did you have to go with that Veltudo? Is it Veltudo?
No, so the X1. So mine, the X1 Omni, don't think supports Veltudo. But I just did a third-party
hacks.
Hacks thing.
What about controlling Home Assistant around the house? Like, how are you controlling Home Assistant? Do you use voice? Have you got tablets on the wall? Like, what's your go-to choice there?
Eventually, I do want to get a tablet on the wall. I think that's going to be whenever I can get a cheap tablet, a spare tablet from work or something like that, that'd be amazing. Always kept the sort of the mantra of always be able to control the device manually as well as on Home Assistant. Always want to be able to flick a light switch if the Wi-Fi goes down or Zigbee goes down or anything like that. What was the other question? The tablet or the...
Yeah, have you got voice assistants?
that was it. Yeah, voice assistant. Got Google Homes around the house. I don't know if it's just me or if it's everyone, but they are the most unreliable things I've ever had. They just seem to... I don't know if it's the Yorkshire accent or if it's just like I'm asking too much of it. They never ever seem to work.
Interesting.
The first year I had them, they were amazing. And it might just be because all I was doing was asking it to turn the light on and off. But you start to get into, feed, you set up a routine to, feed the cat 2 portions. And all it's doing is clicking a button to send food out twice. And it just seems to never be able to do it. Even the most basic questions we ask it never works. So I think I'm going to be moving away from them pretty soon. As much as I don't want to, because I am fully in the Google ecosystem now. I think it's going to be probably testing the new Home Assistant voice assistant.
Nice.
Yep.
Having a play with that. I haven't looked too much into it. I've seen a couple of videos on YouTube, and I've seen the option in Home Assistant pop up recently. But that looks quite interesting.
Yeah, it's there's some cool stuff. It sounds like they're working on too. I don't know how it's going to play out in terms of these recordings, but we just had a chat with Mike Hansen yesterday, who is kind of the brains behind the Home Assistant voice project, right? So, or the Year of the Voice kind of thing. So, I'm pretty excited to see where it's going. Personally, again, those of you on YouTube can see right behind me, I do have an Amazon Echo. But I'm not beyond getting rid of those if there's, if there's something better, right? And
absolutely.
And then I'm okay to DIY it, and I'm sure there'll be a ecosystem, right? Oh, I know. I completely agree. It's like, I think I was saying this in one of our other recordings where it's like mine will just randomly at like 3 a.m. be like, I didn't catch that. And I was like, that's because everybody's asleep and no one said anything. But
I could be like literally in front of it, like yelling, saying her name, and she just won't wake up. Or I'll ask her to set a timer and she just won't do it. And I'm like, well, what good are you? That's what I use you for, right? Like, she can't set a timer. But you want me to get out my phone and press buttons like what is this?
Mine just randomly forgets sometimes that I have a YouTube Premium subscription.
Oh, nice.
So I ask it to play a song. It's like, you need a YouTube subscription for that. And I'm like, I do have a YouTube subscription. I get unreasonably angry at my Google Homes. My girlfriend does not like it.
Yeah,
she's like, amazing. Calm down. It is an inanimate object. It's a pre-recorded voice. I'm like, I don't care. He's doing it on purpose.
Let's test the anatomy when it hits the wall, right? Oh, look, it's going off right behind. I didn't say the word. None of you said the word, and I'm on headphones, so it's there you go. So quality,
perfect timing.
It's good. I love that everybody caught that too. I'm not making this up, but yeah. So I mean, speaking of tablet and voice and stuff. Today, what is your preferred method? Like, do you use your phone and all this stuff, or do you kind of just automate everything and augment? How do you like, when is it that you pull out your phone or visit the Home Assistant UI?
At the moment, usually when we go to bed is the main sort of control everything. If we forgot to turn the bathroom light off, or we forgot to, the outside light's still on or something like that. It used to be all the time. It used to be primarily voice, primarily control everything through phone. But that was when I lived on 3 floors. We had a ground floor first and a second. But now we've moved to a bungalow. Everything's sort of within arm reach. Almost every light switch for every room in the house are all right next to each other on the same wall.
Yep.
So there's not really much need to you would literally 2 seconds away from it whenever you need it. So I'm trying to automate as much as possible. I've ordered a couple of motion sensors, a couple of Akara motion sensors. I've currently got one in the workshop, in the shed, which is just works flawlessly. It never drops, never loses connection.
Beautiful.
So if I can get one of them in the office, in this room and in the bathroom, those are the main rooms that I'd want them in. And then everything else would just sort of be location based. I'm trying to organize a 4G SIM that just pulls data from my existing phone contract so that I can install it in my car, because my car's got an aftermarket Android Auto system in it.
Okay.
And you can plug a SIM card into it and it has data constantly without having to tether.
Nice.
So if I can have that run Home Assistant, which is already installed on it, then you basically use location tracking on the car. It'd know exactly, as a combination of that plus Frigate plus connecting to the Wi-Fi, you'd never get any false positives. Well, as close as possible to never get any false positives for location tracking.
I was going to say never say never, but yeah. Yeah, no, it's that actually does sound pretty cool. I mean, are you doing any, I think you may have mentioned this, but again, I may have already forgotten, but are you doing any license plate recognition?
I'm not. No, that's interesting. Does Frigate do that?
I don't know if it does.
All right.
It might do just object detection, but yeah, but there are a lot of tools out there that would do it.
Yeah, I think there was a couple that didn't one get shut down or something, but there was an integration in Home Assistant that definitely got taken out.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there's a couple, which was like, I think one of them is like OpenAlper. Is that the one I'm thinking of? Yeah, so I think they got acquired, maybe.
Right.
And there's not actually a open version potentially anymore. Maybe I'm wrong.
I'm guessing that would be a matter of, that it recognizes that my license plate is my license plate. I pull onto the driveway, it knows that I'm home, etc.
Yeah, exactly, right? So it says, okay, based on this is who is here, kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
And then, or like, if you have multiple vehicles, then it's like, okay, car 1, car 2, that kind of thing, right? And how it's
quite cool, actually.
Parked. Yeah, it's there. I think this one I've seen people that build their own. How much effort is it? I don't know. It might be more effort than it's worth. Yeah, and it's also I don't know. I also think it's good to again, even when if you have your friend's license plates numbers and stuff like that, be like, hey, Phil is here, or like whatever, right? And do that kind of thing too. So I have something cool, or if there's ever an event where you need, from a security perspective, you're also automatically capturing license plates.
Yeah.
Right. So there's
definitely that's probably something to add to the Home Assistant to-do list.
Yeah. Again, how much will capturing that license plate help? Maybe not. But
he's just add as many variables in as possible, and then you get the best result.
Yeah.
All these different detection methods will pipe into at the end of the day, you get one notification that is hopefully as accurate as possible.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So, yeah.
How are you getting notified on your phone at the moment? Like, how does something grab your attention? Because I have so many notifications from Home Assistant. How would I know like which one is like an emergency one, unless I'm setting up like a notification channel? Have you gone down to that level or anything?
Yeah, so I've got the generic notifications just push through from Home Assistant. I've got custom icons set up on the notifications with custom images and custom text. And then the really important ones, like, for example, someone rings the doorbell, or someone goes past the front garden zone into the side garden zone, then into the back garden zone. Then it's like I can't remember the terminology used in the JSON, because I use Node-RED for my automation. But that's how I push the notification through Home Assistant. What's it called now? Basically where it like bypasses everything on any setting on your phone related to silencing and vibration, and it will speak out loud that there is someone in the back garden, or there is someone is at the door, for example, and then also pushes a photo and a video through as well.
Nice. And then do you have any ability to take action on that? Like if you did to see that, is it simply just call 999, or do you have like a siren that you can trigger?
I used to have it the old place, but I haven't set it up here yet. It was basically turn everything on and start everything flashing red and police. I had some light bulbs that could do a police effect, so you'd do that, and I had a couple of quite funny sounds that had come through the Google Homes, like intruder alert, and then like a countdown timer with a bomb that's going to go off and stuff like that.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
And then the other actions would be like, if there's a parcel, can you please leave that in the back garden at this specific location and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So have you got it to detect that like a delivery driver has dropped off something at your house and then give me like instructions, or is that something you would want to get to be able to do that?
That's something I'd like to do, is like package detection. Right now it's just standard. There is a person there.
Yep.
And I just have the button always there just in case it is a delivery person. Because most of the time it is. But if I could do like Frigate has detected a parcel, a package, that would be amazing. But is that possible?
I know some of the Ring cameras are doing that now, especially with their top to bottom view. They will detect, if a parcel's been left, then they can send you a notification saying, package has arrived.
There's a lot of them that do it now. Actually, I think most, like Ring, I think the Ubiquity ones, I think a lot of those do parcel detection. But again, how well do they work is that may be another story, right? It's
how many false positives do you get through?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's or it's how much does it actually capture, in a sense that, like, I think I mentioned this on one of our previous episodes where we went on vacation and our neighbor was luckily picking up our packages and stuff like that. But we caught the delivery person putting the package down. Fast forward, the package is missing and there's nothing in between that it's captured. Right. Oh, wow. And it's like, now it was winter, so it was pretty cold. So I don't know if it dipped below like the acceptable operating temperature or anything like that. I don't believe it did. I think it was like -2 or something like that Celsius. And I think it's rated for like -30 or something. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe this is only rated for 0, but so that was kind of scary. Right. And I was like, what happened? Luckily I used one of my outdoor cameras to go in and look, and I could see my neighbor walking up and grabbing the package. And I was like, okay, that's good. That's fine, right? Like it wasn't somebody else, but.
So when you have that button there to say, please leave the package here, what does that execute? Like, is there a speaker outside that is playing a message, or how have you got that configured?
I would like there to be. I've got some ceiling speakers that I'd like to install in the, I don't know the sort of the building term for it. It's like the lip around the roof hangs over.
Yep, like the eave.
Eve, that's it. Yeah. I'd like just a small ceiling speaker to be put up in there because, I mean, they're only cheap. If they get water damaged, I can easily replace them. But currently, it's just a Google Home that the automation basically sets it to full volume, and we always leave the windows on the latch just to let fresh air in, because moisture and mold build-up in the UK is quite a problem, especially in older houses if you don't ventilate it properly. So usually they can hear it. If they've already started walking around the side of the house, there's no way they'd hear it. But 9 times out of 10, they'll hear it, and then if I can see them on the camera, sort of like going towards the window to what was that, I'd play it again.
Nice.
I can watch them live, obviously.
Yeah, that's cool.
And I said, the cool thing that I've done with the cat automation is I like to, as much as possible, like I said before, buy things cheap and automate them from dumb into smart devices. Obviously, you buy purpose-made things. They're probably going to have a subscription or a connection to the cloud or something. So I bought a really cheap, because we got her during winter. It was really cold. She actually had fleas when we got her as well, so there was a chance of her getting, what's the word? Not pneumonia, anemic. So I wanted to keep her as warm as possible. So I got a little, it's like a, I don't know, like maybe 10-inch by 10-inch heated mat that you just plug straight into the mains. And we have switches in the UK on directly next to our socket, so you switch it on, switch it off. So I've got that plugged into a Zigbee. Sorry, at the time it was a Wi-Fi switch, and then I repurposed the printer Zigbee switch to what is now a cat bed switch.
Right.
And then I've got an ESP module, and I bought a like a pressure pad so that it goes under like a car seat.
Okay.
I think I saw the idea online, actually. I will not take credit for this whatsoever. That's just connected straight to the ESP module, and it basically just sends a on or off signal, which then turns the bed on or off, so it can detect whether she's actually on the bed or not, so that it's not using energy constantly.
That's cool.
And then, when she steps off the bed, 15 minutes goes by, it turns off, she comes back, and she eventually learned that she could do that. And she just now, whenever she goes into the bed, she's on there for hours.
That's awesome.
It's good that the pressure sensor is sensitive enough to be able to pick that weight up too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's not too sensitive either, so like it wouldn't trigger until she's fully on it.
Mm-hmm.
I tested it by putting a couple of light objects on it first, and then something roughly about her size, and she happened to just be at the right weight that it triggered it. It triggered it straight away.
Right.
You should get into sort of weird positions, like right on the corner of it, and then they wouldn't trigger. But like I said, eventually she learned that she had to sit in the middle of the bed, and then it would trigger.
That's funny.
Nice.
Well, it's almost like you got to train for that, right? Like it's.
Yeah, she knows it's there.
That's right. That's funny. So how much, like, in terms of like DIYing and stuff like that, do you sounds like you do a little bit with ESP Home or ESPs in general and like those kind of things. Anything interesting that you've built that you want to share?
I guess my coffee machine is a good one. That I'm on version 3 of the coffee machine at the moment. The first 2 didn't go so well.
Okay.
The first one exploded.
Oh, that's good.
Luckily, it was nothing to do with what the changes that I made to it.
Yeah.
It was just a really cheap, really rubbish coffee machine, just like a filter, like drip machine. Really standards. I like to integrate things as much as possible. So if I'm going to make any changes to it, I want to make sure that all the Wemos D1 Mini that I'm putting in it actually fits inside the existing housing. The relays that I use or the octo couplers all fit inside the product. I don't want loose wires or loose electronics hanging out. I want it to look pretty.
Yeah.
So the machine I bought, I was able to put all that inside of it, and I had just a relay wired to the mains coming into the machine, and then that would flick on or off, and it would just turn the coffee machine on or off. But eventually, it just died and exploded and sent coffee all over the kitchen.
Oh.
I bought so I moved from that and I went to a Tassimo pods coffee machine.
Okay.
So you just buy the pods, put them in, and that was a bit more complicated because you've got a barcode scanner in the machine. And must have like a pre-existing database built into the machine to know which pods to, dispense for milk and dispense for coffee and etc. So that was a D1 Mini module with a relay for turning this is before I discovered I could use an octo coupler to push a button. To push a button, quote unquote. So I use a relay to press the button to turn it on or off. One for the lid to know that the lid was closed. So that would use a push button to send a signal to the D1 Mini, which would then send a signal to the relay to tell the machine the lid is closed.
Yeah.
That worked really well, to be honest, for a while. Again, it just got to the point where the cheap machines, they cost next to nothing. It just broke. So now I've got, again, back to a sort of fairly cheap, but slightly more expensive actual coffee machine with an actual like thing that you put coffee in and twist it, and I can't remember what the cost. But again, that's just a simple on or off relay built in, less complicated. But it works really well, and I've got it's actually an espresso machine, so it only dispenses so much coffee at a time. So if I want a full coffee, I have a Node-RED automation that has to turn it on for 30 seconds, turn it off and let it heat up for 60 seconds, then turn it on another 3 times to get a full cup.
Wow.
And how are you putting that into a routine? Like, how are you, like, is this part of, like, when you walk into the kitchen in the morning, it knows, all right, make you a coffee? Or is this, like, purely just for voice command, make me a coffee, and it knows what to do?
So you can do it via voice command, or I've just got like a little sort of dashboard. It's got its own page on Home Assistant, which just pops up when you press the coffee button. So I've got the manual control from that aspect, but then if I want to have a coffee in the morning, I have an automation set up to do all that. But I actually have to press a button to say I want a coffee, and then I've got an input time to say I want it at this time, and it'll look to see if it is that time, and if it is, it'll trigger.
Right.
Nice.
Just keep things as simple as possible. I tried doing all the automated, make me a coffee every single morning at this specific time, but then I ran into, I'd wake up, walk downstairs, and there'd be coffee all over the kitchen floor.
Yeah.
Because I forgot to put a cup there the night before.
Whoops.
Yes. Yeah, of course. And then you go into like should I then do a detection to make sure there's a cup there? Do I get a camera there with some OCR?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's another pressure sensor to be purchased for that. That is actually a future project that I want to do, but I'm struggling to find one cheap enough and small enough for just a cup.
So yeah, in your original email you sent to us, you mentioned that you can thank Home Assistant for your job. Like, how does that work? Because I'm sure there's a few people that would love to do the same.
Yeah, so it's now a previous job. I've moved on from that company. Obviously, the waiting list for this podcast is a while, and in that year, I had a year's career at the company, and I've since left. So if my manager's listening to this podcast, who gave me the job because of Home Assistant, sorry, we didn't leave on on good terms. But basically, I've got in my CV for when I'm applying for jobs that Home Assistant is a hobby along with electricians.
Nice.
I work in IT, obviously, so it's of interest to some people. Gone onto a video interview much like this, what we're doing now, with a company, the only place I've ever worked outside of my hometown, in a city about an hour away. And it was quite daunting because I managed my own IT department, and I was transitioning away from that back to sort of like the corporate IT life.
Yeah.
So I interviewed with them for to just be a second line help desk technician.
Sure.
And it was a bit of a downgrade, but it was something I was ready for. But when I interviewed with them, they brought up Home Assistant, and who ended up becoming my manager actually mentioned that he uses Home Assistant. So he instantly obviously clicked and started talking about it, and his boss, who was also in the interview, just sort of took a back seat. And for 3/4 of the interview, I just basically shared my screen and walked them through all my YAML code for Home Assistant.
Yeah.
At the time, I had a really custom dashboard with really fancy soft-looking buttons on the dashboard and stuff like that. That was all CSS code that I copied and pasted from someone else's code online. But yeah, we spent an hour basically just talking about Home Assistant. Eventually, they actually offered me the job on the spot without a second stage interview because of that. And they offered me the job of an infrastructure engineer rather than a service desk technician. So it was
awesome.
a significant pay bump. And it meant, I could work from home. I didn't have to come into the office as much, and I had more responsibility. I was project based rather than, ticket based and stuff like that.
Right.
So it was actually a massive opportunity, which has sort of led me to the career I'm doing now. It allowed me to progress quite a bit in my career, and it was completely thanks to Home Assistant.
That's fantastic.
Awesome. Yeah, that is really cool.
I always love hearing stories like that. Like, when your hobby can sort of, have an impact outside of just, the hobby side of life, right? Like careers and all that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that goes to say too, right? Like, I mean, for I mean, all of us and people in the community too, right? I mean, if you're that involved in it, or if you do that much, even in your own home kind of thing, might be worth throwing in your resume or CV, right? So
yeah, absolutely. If you've done even the most basic stuff with it, if it's something you look at, even monthly, even once a month, you have a tinker with Home Assistant, absolutely put it in your CV, because it shows at the very least that you have an interest in it, and an interest in IT, if that's what you're pursuing is a job in IT. But obviously it opens doors to other hobbies as well, like electronics and messing with ESP modules and building your own stuff, and even coding. I've heard a lot of people on this podcast code their own programs to work with Home Assistant. That's something that I'll probably never do, but it's something that I'd love to do if I had the mental capacity to do that.
Yeah, I mean, it just shows you work with a lot of these different technologies. It shows that you have an interest in trying to figure out how things work, right? So
yeah, absolutely.
I mean, I think at some point, every single person, whether they're super technical or not, at some point has been like, how does this actually do this? Right? When they use Home Assistant, right? Like it's but
opens up that interest even more.
Absolutely, right? So I think that, and then for people hiring, that might be something good to look towards too, right? For your employees. So
yeah, definitely. I know for a fact if I was hiring in the future, then the that's the first thing I'd look at is, I'm never going to ask you to work outside of our working hours, but what do you do outside working hours? Do you have an active interest in it, or is this just a job?
Yeah.
Is it is it a love, or is it a passion, or is it just a wage at the end of the day?
Yeah, exactly.
Both is fine.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, I think a lot of times it's also like people put like, oh, I enjoy like running and this kind of things, which is fine, but this may be relevant to a job that you're like, it's an interest that's relevant to a job that you're applying for potentially, right? So
yeah. Thanks to that previous manager. I'll wish you all the best.
There you go.
There it is. Oh, good. I think it's fantastic.
All right. Well, and Christian, thank you so much for hopping on and spending the time with us and, chatting with us. So really appreciate that.
It's been a pleasure.
Thank you very much.
All right. Cheers.
Cheers.